I was trapped by a 12-foot alien woman, then she chose me to breed *. The jungle was quiet, but not peaceful. Everything looked strange on this alien planet. The trees were tall like buildings, and their leaves glowed a soft blue light. Strange bugs flew in the air, making low buzzing sounds. The ground was soft, covered in thick moss that felt like walking on clouds. Rick moved slowly. His boots sank slightly with every step. He checked his scanner. One more mineral signal nearby. He whispered, "Almost done." Rick was a human explorer, sent from Earth. His job was simple: search for a rare mineral that could power Earth's failing systems. But this planet's arcanine was unmarked, unexplored, and dangerous. He looked up at the glowing vines above. They moved slightly, even though there was no wind. Something was watching him. He didn't notice. Rick walked forward, scanning the rocks near a small cliff. Come on, just one more sample. But above him, in the tall jungle trees, sharp golden eyes watched him from the shadows. Then the jungle moved. Rick heard a sudden snap. Before he could turn, bam! A heavy force slammed him to the ground. His scanner flew from his hand. He couldn't breathe. Something strong had landed on him. Rick looked up and froze. A giant creature stood over him. She was 12 feet tall, her skin smooth and shining like black stone, with patterns like armor built into her body. Her eyes glowed yellow. Her hair was long, silver, and braided with bone-like pieces. She had long arms and thick legs like tree trunks. But most of all, she was a woman, an alien woman, a huntress. Her hand pressed down on his chest. Rick gasped for air. She stared at him like a lion looking at a small animal. Rick tried to speak. Wait. I'm not here to fight." She didn't answer. Her head tilted slightly. Then she sniffed him. Rick blinked. Were you?" Suddenly, her face came close to his, very close. Her glowing eyes stared deep into his. Then she whispered, in perfect English, "You will nest with me, or you will die alone on this world." Rick's eyes widened. "What?" She growled softly, not in anger but something else, like she was making a decision. Her hand tightened. Rick felt like his ribs might break. He was trained for danger. He had weapons in his belt, but nothing in his training ever prepared him for this. "Listen," Rick said quickly, "I'm not your enemy. I'm from Earth. I'm just..." She pressed a finger against his lips. "Quiet," she said. Her voice was deep but calm, powerful, cold. Then, to Rick's surprise, she removed her hand from his chest. He coughed, sucking in air. "Oh, thank you." But she grabbed his arm. And with one pull, she lifted him like a doll and placed him over her shoulder. "Hey, what are you doing?" She didn't answer. She jumped. One great leap, and they were flying through the trees. Rick screamed as branches passed by. The wind hit his face hard. She moved fast, like an animal born for the hunt. Her body was warm against his. She didn't even breathe heavy. Within minutes, they reached a dark cave covered by glowing plants. She landed softly and walked inside. Rick was dropped gently onto a bed of leaves and fur. He tried to get up, but she raised a clawed finger. "Stay." He stopped. The alien woman walked to a stone wall. She lit something. A fire appeared, casting red light around the cave. Rick could now see the place clearly. Bones, spears, marks carved into stone, and on the walls drawings of creatures like her, and smaller ones like him. He shivered. She sat across from him, watching, studying. Rick tried to calm down. "Why? Me? Why not just kill me?" She touched her chest, then pointed to him. "Our blood matches," she said. "You breathe our air. You eat our food. You can nest." Rick swallowed hard. "Nest, like start a family." She gave a slow nod. "I don't even know your name," he said. She looked up. "Valera." Rick sat up slowly. "Valera, I don't want to be your prisoner." She blinked. "You are not prisoner," she said. Then she stood. "You are chosen." Rick woke up to a strange sound. Drip, drip, drip. He opened his eyes slowly. He wasn't in the jungle anymore. He was lying on soft moss, inside a stone cave that smelled of smoke and warm earth. The fire from last night was still burning low. Shadows danced across the wall. Symbols were carved into the stone: spirals, stars, and strange beast shapes. But something else caught his attention. He wasn't alone. Across the fire, the giant alien woman was sitting with her back to him. Her long, silver hair fell down her muscular back. She was sharpening a blade made not of metal, but of glowing green bone. The sound was slow and steady. She wasn't looking at him, but she knew he was awake. "You dream loudly," she said, without turning. Rick sat up. "Was I talking in my sleep?" "You called your home," she replied. "Earth." Rick blinked. "You understand Earth?" The alien turned toward him. Her golden eyes were sharp. "I understand survival," she said. She stood tall, towering over him. Her skin reflected the light. She wasn't wearing full armor now, only light tribal coverings that marked her rank. Bones and glowing feathers. Across her chest was a carved symbol, a hunter's mark. Rick backed up slightly. "So what happens now?" The alien huntress Valera stepped forward and dropped something in front of him. A bowl made of smooth stone filled with blue fruit and roasted meat. "Eat." Rick looked down. "You feed me," she nodded. "You are not food," she said. "You are future." Rick stared at her. "What does that mean?" Valera sat beside him, legs crossed like a warrior resting after battle. "My people once ruled skies," she said. "Now, we are dying. The great birth cycle is breaking. Our blood grows weak. Our nests stay empty." She looked at him deeply. "You are different. Your blood stirs mine." Rick coughed on a bite of fruit. "Excuse me, you sparked the old way," she said. "Your scent woke instincts. Your mind fights fear." Rick looked down, unsure. "You want me to help you rebuild your people?" Valera looked at the fire. Her expression softened. "No. I want to know if you will choose to." Rick stood slowly and walked toward the entrance of the cave. Outside, the jungle shimmered under a purple sky. Floating creatures glided through the air like jellyfish. Strange flowers opened as if breathing. It was beautiful and dangerous. He turned back. "You could have forced me to stay, but you didn't. I am hunter, not slaver." She stood and walked toward him. Then she said something strange. "You are not weak because you are small. You are strong because you care." Rick didn't speak for a moment. Then he asked, "What is this place?" Valera gestured to the valley below. "This is what's left of my kind. The others do not trust humans. They still remember the wars. But I remember something else." "What?" Her voice grew soft. "A human saved me once. Now I wonder, will one save us all?" Rick's heart beat faster. Before he could ask more, she turned suddenly. "Follow. I will show you the others." As they walked through a narrow canyon, Rick saw ruins, tall broken towers covered in vines. Strange creatures roamed the distance. Alien children ran and hid when they saw him. Female warriors stood with spears, watching carefully. Valera raised her hand. "He is claimed," she shouted in her language. The others lowered their weapons. But Rick saw it in their eyes. They didn't trust him. Not yet. Then a child stepped forward. She had small ridges on her forehead like Valera, but younger. She looked up at Rick and offered a small glowing stone. Rick took it gently. The crowd murmured. Valera whispered, "That was her nest token. She accepts you." Rick looked around. For the first time, he felt a strange pull inside his chest. He wasn't just surviving anymore. He was becoming part of something ancient, something wild, something new. Rick sat by the fire, turning the small glowing stone in his hand, the nest token gifted by the alien child. It felt warm, not just in his palm, but in his chest too. The giant huntress Valera stood nearby, speaking in her deep alien language to 3 older warriors. They were not pleased. One of them pointed at Rick sharply. Another snarled. Rick didn't need a translator to understand. They didn't want him here. Valera turned toward Rick. Her jaw was tight. "They do not believe. You are worthy," she said. Rick stood slowly. "Then let me prove I am." Valera raised her eyebrows, impressed. But one of the elders stepped forward. Her eyes were cold like stone. Her body was covered in scars. She had seen many battles and lost many sisters. She pointed to a dark cave. "Behind them, he will enter the pit of howling bones," she said in her rough voice. Valera growled. "That trial is for criminals." The elder responded. "He's not one of us. Let him earn the nest." Valera turned to Rick. "If you go in, there is no help, no weapons, only your courage." Rick nodded. What's inside? She paused. Pain. The pit was not just a hole, it was a sacred cave. It went deep into the planet, where old bones of creatures long dead still whispered through the dark. Rick stepped to the edge. They took everything from him, his tools, his jacket, even his boots. He stood bare against the challenge. The elder shouted. He must leave blood behind. Only then. He may join us. Rick climbed down the rough rocks. As soon as his feet hit the cave floor, the light disappeared. It was silent, cold, damp. He breathed. Slowly, then a sound. Scratching. Something moved in the dark. Rick crouched low, hands ready. Suddenly, from the shadows, a long, thin creature rushed toward him. Its eyes were blind. Its mouth was wide, with sharp yellow teeth. Its skin was pale and stretched like paper. Rick dodged, barely missing a swipe. It came again, faster this time. He grabbed a bone from the ground and swung. Crack. The beast screeched. But it wasn't alone. Another creature slithered behind him. It wrapped around his leg, pulling him down. Rick struggled. He kicked, punched, fought. He screamed, not in fear but in anger. He didn't want to die here. Not now. Not after he saw that little alien girl smile at him. Not after he saw Valera lower her guard. Not after he started to feel belonging. Rick grabbed a sharp broken tooth from the ground and stabbed wildly. The creature fell. Its blood hissed like acid but didn't burn. Rick stood again, panting, bleeding from his arm, his side, his cheek. He limped deeper into the cave until he saw a glow, a mark on the wall. It was the same symbol on Valera's chest. He touched it. And then, silence. No more monsters. Only breath. Rick climbed out of the pit 2 hours later, bloody, dirty, shaking. The crowd had gathered. They expected a broken man, but he emerged standing. And in his hand, he held the glowing stone from the cave wall, the symbol of her tribe. The elder's eyes widened. She stepped back. Valera stepped forward slowly. She reached out and touched his wounded arm. You bled for the nest, she said softly. Rick looked into her golden eyes. I'd bleed again. The alien crowd roared a deep, thunder-like sound, not anger, honor. For the first time, the tribe accepted him. And Valera? She stepped close and whispered in his ear. Now, I can truly nest with you. Rick's heart pounded, not from fear, but from something far more dangerous. Hope. Asterisk. That night, the bonding moon rose over the jungle. It was massive, silver and red, glowing like fire in the sky. The jungle creatures grew silent. Even the air felt heavier. This was no ordinary night. Rick stood near the sacred fire pit with fresh bandages on his arms. Alien children peeked at him from behind rocks, whispering in their strange language. He was no longer the outsider. He was now Valera's chosen mate. But not everyone agreed. Inside the council tent, firelight flickered against the walls. Elder warriors sat in a circle. Rick stood in the middle, at Valera's side. An old priestess approached. Her skin was gray and cracked like stone, and her eyes glowed with memory. She raised her staff. This night is sacred, she said. Under the bonding moon, all nest pairs must be declared. Rick looked up at Valera. She looked down at him with steady calm. But before she could speak, a deep voice cut through the air. She cannot choose the human. She was promised to me. Everyone turned. From the shadows, a tall alien male stepped forward. He was not like the others. He was bigger than Valera, his skin darker, his armor marked with blood. Rick's eyes narrowed. The crowd whispered his name, Zeroth. Valera's face turned cold. Rick whispered, "Who is he?" She didn't answer. Zeroth stepped into the circle. "I am firstborn of the Iron Nest," he growled. "By law, Valera is mine." Rick stepped forward. "She chose me." Zeroth bared his fangs. "You are prey, a child, a toy." Rick clenched his fists. "Try me." The crowd gasped. The elder priestess raised her hand. "Enough. This must be settled by fire." That night, the trial of flames was announced. 2 warriors. 1 fire. No weapons. Only will. Rick stood on one side of the ring, heart pounding. Zeroth stood across from him, eyes full of rage. Valera stood between them, silent. Her choice would not be spoken, it would be earned. The priestess threw a burning torch into the center. "Begin." Zeroth rushed like a beast. Rick rolled to the side. He wasn't as strong, but he was fast. He used dirt, kicked sand, dodged low. Zeroth roared and punched hard. Rick's jaw cracked, blood in his mouth. But he stood again. And again. And again. The crowd began to chant not for Zeroth, for Rick. Even the children shouted his name. Zeroth grabbed Rick's throat, lifted him off the ground. "You're not one of us." He spat. Rick, gasping, replied, "Then why do I care more than you?" With his last strength, Rick kicked Zeroth in the gut, twisted free, and pushed him into the fire ring's edge. Zeroth screamed as flame licked his armor. The elder raised her staff. "Enough, the challenge is done." Zeroth crawled away in defeat. Rick collapsed, coughing, but he was still breathing. Valera stepped forward. She didn't speak. She simply knelt before him and placed her forehead to his chest. The priestess spoke. "Nest is chosen. The bond is real." Later that night, under the stars, Rick sat beside Valera near the edge of the cliff. He looked at her. "Why didn't you tell me about Zeroth?" Her voice was quiet. "He was once my friend, before war changed him." She touched Rick's bruised face gently. "You changed me back." Rick smiled weakly. "We're not so different." Valera nodded. "Not anymore." And then they shared the bonding flame. It wasn't a kiss. It wasn't physical. It was their minds touching. A memory passed from her to him. A child, a nest, a death, a war, a future. Rick closed his eyes. In that moment, he understood her pain, her hope, her strength. He wasn't just part of her world now. He was part of her heart. Days passed since the trial of flames. Rick had become more than just a guest in the alien tribe. He helped rebuild broken huts. He shared Earth tech with curious younglings. He taught a few alien kids how to play a simple Earth game catch. The warriors still watched him with cautious eyes, but no one called him prey anymore. One morning, Valera stood by the sacred pool. Her eyes were closed. Her breathing was slow. Something felt different in her. Rick walked up behind her, smiling. "You okay?" She turned, and for the first time, she looked afraid. "I feel it," she said quietly. "Inside me." Rick blinked. "What do you mean?" She placed his hand gently on her belly. "I carry life," she whispered. Rick stood, frozen. "Already." She nodded. "Our bond was stronger than expected. My body accepted you fully. The egg has formed." Rick's heart raced. He wasn't just her mate now. He was going to be a father. But joy didn't last long. That same night, strange lights appeared in the sky. Red and silver streaks broke through the clouds. At first, the tribe thought it was another moon passing. But Rick knew better. He rushed to the highest cliff and activated the signal reader from his gear. It confirmed his fear. Earth ship inbound. Military class. Code Lancer 7. Rick clenched his jaw. The Earth government had finally found him. But they hadn't come for peace. They came for extraction. In the council tent, panic spread. Warriors armed themselves. Elders barked orders. Younglings were hidden inside the caves. Valera stood silent. Then she said, "They come for you." Rick nodded. "They think I'm lost, or worse, compromised." Valera touched her stomach. "And if they see the egg, they'll take it," Rick said. "They'll study it. They'll fear it." The elder priestess spoke. "You brought danger to our sky." Rick didn't argue. "Yes, and I'll face it." Valera stepped forward. "No, we face it. Together." The Earth shuttle landed the next morning. Dust blew across the valley. Soldiers stepped out in armored suits. Their guns were charged. Their eyes were cold. A commander with silver hair stepped forward. "Rick Mason," he called out. "You are ordered to return to Earth. You have violated interspecies boundaries. You are carrying corrupted DNA." Rick stepped out from the cliff path, unarmed. "I'm alive. I found peace. I found love." The commander frowned. "You bred with an alien? Do you understand what you've done?" "I saved a dying race," Rick shouted back, "and maybe myself." Behind him, Valera appeared. Tall, proud, pregnant. The soldiers raised their weapons. Rick stepped in front of her. "Don't make this war," he said. The commander looked uneasy. And then something happened no one expected. From the jungle sky, another ship appeared. But it wasn't human. It was massive, black, shaped like a claw and covered in burning tribal marks. Valera's eyes widened. The exiled clan, she whispered. They followed the Earth's signal. Rick turned to her. Enemies? She nodded. They do not want peace. They want blood. Yours, mine, the child's. The Earth soldiers looked up. Now even they were afraid. Two worlds once enemies now stood side by side. Rick turned to the humans. You want to arrest me? He pointed to the black alien ship landing fast. Then do it after we survive them. Asterisk the sky burned red. The ship of the exiled. Clan, an ancient enemy of Valera's people, landed with thunder and fire. Massive doors opened, and from the smoke came armored beasts, twice the size of humans, painted in ash and war blood. Their language was not spoken, it was screamed. Their purpose was not war, it was eradication. Rick stood between two worlds. Behind him were the warriors of Valera's tribe, fierce, proud, breathing heavy. Beside him, Earth soldiers watched with confusion, unsure if they should fight the aliens or fight with them. Commander Rourke stepped forward. They're not friendly. Are they? Rick shook his head. No, they kill without question. Even your weapons won't be enough. Rourke eyed the alien warriors. Then what do you suggest? Rick looked at Valera. Then back to the commander. We fight together. A moment of silence passed. Then Commander Rourke lowered his rifle. Fine, let's make history. He turned to his team. From now on, no one shoots unless the alien with the feathers does. He pointed to Valera. She nodded once. The battle began at dawn. The exiled clan stormed down from the cliffs. They screamed in rage. Their weapons fired bolts of burning plasma. They brought machines walking beasts of steel. But what they didn't expect was unity. Alien warriors jumped from trees and ambushed from above. Human soldiers laid traps and formed defensive walls. Rick ran between them shouting orders, carrying wounded, throwing grenades where plasma didn't work. At one point, a giant beast charged toward a human medic. Rick tackled it from the side and stabbed its eye with a spear carved from an alien bone. Blood sprayed. The medic stared in awe. You're one of them now. Rick only nodded. Just trying to live. The battle raged for hours. Bodies fell, fires burned. The jungle screamed. But slowly, inch by inch, the exiled clan was pushed back. Their ship exploded in the final charge, blown apart by a joint trap laid by a human engineer and an alien hunter. Victory. But at a cost. After the smoke cleared, the valley was silent. The wounded were treated. The dead were honored. Rick stood beside Valera as the tribe circled them. The elder priestess stepped forward. Her old voice shook with pride. You are no longer outsider, she said. She raised her hands. From this day, you are called Duren, brother from beyond. The crowd repeated the name in unison. Their voices shook the valley. Ren. Commander Rourke watched from a distance. Never thought I'd see the day. Rick walked over to him. So, you taking me back? Rourke smirked. Not yet. Earth can wait. But that child. He looked at Valera's belly. You'll need to protect it. Earth isn't ready. Not yet. Rick nodded. That's why I'm staying. Rourke gave him one last salute. Make sure that kid knows which side of the war we chose today. That night, under the quiet stars, Rick sat beside Valera outside their rebuilt hut. She leaned her head on his shoulder. You bleed for us, she whispered. Now you live for us. Rick smiled. I'm not from your world, he said. But maybe this is where I was meant to be. Valera closed her eyes. Brother, warrior, mate. She paused, then added softly, Father. The jungle was silent. For the first time in seasons, there was no war, no cries, no blood. Only the sound of wind in the tall blue trees, and a soft cry, a newborn's cry. Inside the sacred birth hut, bathed in soft red light, Valera held the child in her arms. Her skin shimmered with sweat and strength. Her eyes, those sharp golden eyes, now looked soft. Rick knelt beside her, speechless. The child was small, smaller than the alien younglings, but larger than a human baby. Its skin was a soft bronze. Its fingers had tiny claws. Its eyes, when they opened, shone bright green and gold. That not fully alien, not fully human. Something new. Something more. The elder priestess entered the hut. She carried a bowl of sacred water. She dipped her hand, touched the child's forehead, and whispered, Born of fire and peace. Raised between stars, you are the bridge that will not break. She turned to the tribe. Gathered outside, a new bloodline has begun. The jungle echoed with cheers. Drums began to beat. Torches lit the cliffs. Warriors raised their blades, in salute not to war, but to life later. Rick stood atop the stone ridge holding the child in his arms. Commander Rourke stood beside him. Armor scratched, but clean. Rourke looked at the baby and said, "Well, what are you going to call her?" Rick smiled. "Her name is Alari. It means both skies in Valera's tongue. She's going to change everything, you know," Rourke said. Rick nodded. "That's the point." The next morning, a transmission came from Earth. They had seen the battle logs, the scans, the blood work. They knew about the child, and they sent a message. "We request peace talks. We want to meet the hybrid child on neutral ground. We offer safe passage. We are ready to talk." Valera listened quietly. Then she looked at Rick. "Are they ready for her?" Rick didn't answer. Right away, he looked at Alari. She blinked at the sky with eyes too wise for a newborn. Then he whispered, "If they're not, they will be." Weeks later, a new ship lifted off from the valley floor. Not a warship, not an escape vessel, but a nest ship, a symbol of unity. Inside were human scientists, alien elders, and Rick now wearing the ceremonial robes of Valera's clan. Valera stood at his side, child in her arms. As the ship rose into the stars, Rick looked down at the world that gave him everything. He had come here alone, lost, just searching for minerals. He had found a people. He had found a war. He had found a mate. And now he had found a future. In the dark of space, a single voice recorded the ship's log. It was Rick's. "This is Ren, brother from beyond. Our daughter has been born. She carries in her blood the strength of warriors and the kindness of humans. She will not choose one world. She will walk between them.